Hello guys, Prius like here again, and I just wanted to talk about fat shaming for a bit. This is a video I've been wanting to make for a while now. And, you know, as, humanity has kind of lived on throughout its thousands of years, one thing has always kind of stood out about acceptance, especially even one of the things of, I would say fat acceptance or fat privilege, whatever you want to call it. I mean, if America had a privilege, it would to be fat. However, there are plenty of people that tend to sometimes seem to even go as far as to lashing out at people that are fat. And I know. I mean, you can see I'm a little bit overweight here. But, even back when I was about, 145 pounds, a few years ago, I'd say about 3 years ago now, actually, to 160 pounds at best. Really good shape, really athletic looking, physique and everything, which required a lot of time to keep up every day, by the way. You know, Eventually I just kind of realized, you know, this really does take a lot of work sometimes to stay physically fit. It requires a lot of time off of other things that you want to do sometimes. And, sometimes life, it takes sacrifice, sometimes in order to be successful or to make time for things sometimes. And so sometimes it gets to a point where you're neglecting your physical health sometimes, or you're eating over stress from working all the time, or whatever you're stressed out about. Shit happens. I mean, in America, sometimes it can be easy to become fat. It seriously is sometimes. It seriously is. It really is. But I always just think how it's strange how, over time, people have sometimes, become religious about not becoming fat. You know what I mean? It seems like they just go out and they shame people that are fat, thinking that if they shame these people that are fat, then they'll finally eat healthy or something. Like they're doing something wrong. And I've even seen people discuss how, like, some of these people are bad people just because they aren't pretty, just because they aren't skinny, or you know what I mean. Not to say that somebody just because they're overweight doesn't always mean that they aren't pretty. Actually, there's some BBW women I've actually seen that actually don't look half that bad, to be frank. But as long as they aren't like overly overweight, of course. But that's another story. But it's also maybe just taking it a little far sometimes, though, from some people when they expect you to look like this all the time. And, you know, looking like this, per se, I'm going to put this right here for a moment. Looking like this is not only very hard to get to, it takes a lot of work to get to a point like this, let's say. And trying to keep up a look with your body like this doesn't last forever. And it takes a lot out of you, to say the least. And again, like I said, who knows? Something will come up, a situation will come up. You'll have to be working in the office all the time. You'll have kids. You don't have a babysitter or anything because you don't have that kind of money. You don't have anybody to take care of your kids. So you don't have the time to work out, etc. I remember this one lady that who was, of course, a mother of what, four kids. And one day she posted on the internet on how, hey, I do this, I work 40-hour weeks, I have 3 kids, and blah, 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 and look at me. And, I just think that some people just don't really, have a good sense of life, to say the least. They are very privileged, to say the least. They've been privileged for so long that they have lost sight of reality and what other people go through, to say the least. And again, like I said, not everybody is able to afford a personal trainer. Not everybody is able to, shit, on average, I work over 40 hours a week when I work. When I heard, when she posted that she works 40-hour weeks, I was just like, well, shit, lady, I sometimes work like 60 hours a week for like over 3 months straight. And I know that sometimes it's the same, if not more so, for other people. I've known some people that actually work like 80-hour weeks sometimes. I mean, it would be a godsend if I was able to only get away with 40-hour weeks, to be frank. I mean, in the 90s, working 40-hour weeks was pretty common. You didn't normally have to work over 40-hour weeks in the 90s, but nowadays, I mean, you want to at least work that, if not 60 sometimes. Not everybody gets the same paycheck. And yeah, just paychecks, what you get paid and what you have to pay for rent doesn't always match anymore, to say the least. So, to expect somebody, to expect your mates and the people around you to look like this is just ridiculous. I mean, how could you look like this when all the shit's going on, to say the least? And, again, I just eventually realized, sometimes we have to make a sacrifice in order to take care of things that we need, to take care of people that we care about. Sometimes we need to make a sacrifice in order to be successful. And I'm not just saying that for like your job. I just mean in general, just anything, whether it's cleaning around your house or, getting a raise at your job, in your office or something. I mean, just anything. Making the time to pick up your kids for school, etc. Being successful takes sacrifice. I mean, sometimes that might mean, getting a few more hours of working out each week, but it could also mean taking a few hours less of workout each week as well. I mean, it's just ridiculous, to say the least. I mean, anyway. I mean, to expect somebody to always look like that and to just toss them out like they're candy just because they don't look up to your standards, it's just wrong. That is just evil, to say the least. I mean, we aren't things. People aren't things. It's just that sometimes people get to a point where, they see us as a resource rather than a person, which is the problem sometimes. And so sometimes when they aren't meeting, the standard, of perfection, or I would say their standards or their perfection, I don't know, man. It's just ridiculous sometimes. And then you have to lose all the weights, which I'm actually trying to lose weight, by the way, and etc. It just really depends. But I gotta say, this whole not fat acceptance is just ridiculous. But however, I do understand that it is like this for a reason sometimes, and it's because In recent past, in the last decade or so, over 50% of America used to be fat. Remember that? Back when Super Size Me came out and everything. Like, there used to be a ton of fat people here in America, which was a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. I mean, to say the least, at least many people in America were happy, to say the least. They're getting well fed, but at the same time, it was at a bit of a sacrifice of our health. And it did become a bit of a problem, that so many people were becoming so overweight sometimes. And now, even like being a bit overweight like myself, I actually accept. I'm not going to see anything wrong with you if you're overweight like me. But if you're overweight like 300 plus pounds, 400 plus pounds, oh my, you've got to do something about it. You've got to do something about it. I hate to say it, but you've got to do something about it. Otherwise, you're going to have a heart attack by the time you turn 30 to 35. I'm sorry, but you've got to do something about it. That's just a bit too overweight. There is a limit on how overweight you should probably be, but sadly there is not, of course. Not to say that I would put a law on how fat people should get, of course, because that would just be chastising. But to say the least, I guess I'll just end the video there, because I think you've heard enough. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.